Okay, let's skip all the formalities here. Let's get past all the bullshit and get right into it. I hate Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit for making it so that I can never look at another 2D Sonic game the same way ever again after playing it. Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit is a recent Sonic the Hedgehog fan game that released August 2nd, 2022 for PC, and has an Android version on the way too as of the time of recording. Thank God, I need something to do out in this field. It's a reimagining of the Sega Game Gear game of the same name, placed in a world where Sonic Triple Trouble was the true sequel to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and it carries on from where that game left off, keeping story beats that make sense with this new narrative and cutting any of the fat that remains to tell its own version of things. It was developed by Noah Copeland and is a 5-year project with multiple different people within the Sonic community coming together to contribute to the game as well as the hype surrounding it. With a mini-comic, era-accurate magazine-style advertisements, unique artwork for the characters, and a 90s-style trailer, among a lot of other things. It's really cool stuff. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sonic Triple Trouble on the Game Gear can best be described as the equivalent of like a Sonic 3 for the system. Look, it's even got Knuckles! And it's arguably one of the greatest games on the console. It's really good, only hampered by, being on the Game Gear. Unlike other Sonic games on the platform, Triple Trouble never got that Master System treatment most of the other portable Sonic games of the time got, which is a bit of a shame. I feel like it might have benefited at the time from the good old Master System not being so squished. Outside of that though, I really think it's super close to being on par quality-wise with any of the mainline Genesis games, though it's a little bit slower and has some weird quirks. Look, getting Chaos Emeralds here's a shit show, and the plot's kinda dumb. I'll be real, I always kinda hated how Fang was treated here. He's supposed to be this expert bounty hunter, universe-hopping, rootin'-tootin' son of a gun, but he seems entirely inept in the game itself, and interactions with him are super rare despite him being part of the, Triple in Triple Trouble. This is supposed to be his big debut as this cool bad guy that Sonic has to beat, and he's sort of just overshadowed as a villain by even Metal Sonic, and he isn't even in the billing for this game. Now, on the other hand, Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit is what happens when the game gets some room to breathe. It's not constrained by being on a handheld anymore. It has room to stretch its legs out and really have some fun, and it does so in a lot of interesting and creative ways. The game has you playing as both Sonic and Tails, and after the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you arrive at where Eggman crash landed, you find the wreckage of Eggman's ship, and you have a brief battle paying homage to Sonic 2, fighting the giant egg mech from the final level of that game. After making short work of it, Eggman tricks you and beats the Chaos Emeralds out of you, making off with one of them as the others are all whisked away to another dimension. You make off after Eggman, and that's the gist of the story. Soon into your run, you'll find yourself being messed around with by Knuckles, who literally just waved goodbye to that asshole. And new to the show, making his debut, Fang the Sniper, or Knack the Weasel, depending on where you live, how Sega feels that day, and the alignment of the planets, who's this bounty hunter looking to collect the Chaos Emeralds, because he's enlightened and realizes, why have 7 rock and no money, when you can have 0 rock and all money? Now, those of you who played Sonic Triple Trouble on the Game Gear, you're going to notice a lot of changes real quick. First off, the gameplay here has changed quite heavily, being Sonic 3 and Knuckles level of buttery smooth. Maybe even more, like, this is really easy to control most of the time. The comparisons to Sonic 3 and Knuckles don't end there either, with the environmental shields making a comeback, along with a new shield that gives you a pseudo-homing attack that can come in pretty handy here and there. The levels have all been redesigned from the ground up to use that wiggle room an extra 8 bits and not having to worry about space constraints gets you. These levels manage to both feel familiar while also totally doing their own thing, and actually outright making fun of the weaker areas of the original title at the same time. For example, the first world's boss starts off like it's going to be that little turtle from before this massive hulking behemoth shows up. They also went ahead and let Fang out of his cage. He's free to roam, and a lot of the time now he ends up filling the role as an Act 1 mini-boss. I like the way he's handled here a lot more. He still has moments where it's clear he's not the brightest tool in the shed, but he's also not so incompetent he's not to be taken seriously. He also still sticks around as an opponent in the special stages for the Chaos Emeralds too, but this has also been entirely redesigned, with entrances now being placed in levels like Sonic 3 and Knuckles instead of requiring you to find hidden boxes with a certain amount of rings. And with the special stages themselves being turned into a 3D race against Fang on his motorcycle, attempting to beat him to a Chaos Emerald while avoiding mines, jumping over gaps, avoiding other obstacles, and gathering rings. With, thank you by the way, the ability to retry immediately at the cost of 1 life if you happen to fail. It even reuses the flying sections from the original in its own way. Making your way through levels here is actually pretty easy. All the benefits of the extra shields plus new bonus stages for crossing a checkpoint with 30 or more rings means you're never really going to be hurting for extra lives too badly until the late game maybe, and that's only if you suck like I do. It's not that the game's really holding your hand or anything, I think it's just part of the nature of bringing a lot of stuff from the original over. I honestly think the biggest thing, beyond all those other reasons, is just that it doesn't fall into a lot of traditional 2D Sonic roadblocks. It wants you to go fast and have fun. There's way less of those springs put in just to bully you, for example, and there's very few places in the game you're asked to do extremely tight platforming. All in all here, there's a total of 9 zones in the main campaign if you include the opening bit as a zone, over the 6 from the original Game Gear version. However, that said, a few of these zones have had their acts 2 and 3 condensed. Added in are entirely new zones, designed to seamlessly drive the plot forward while also showing off some new ideas. The new Egg Zeppelin zone, and a new finale called Final Trouble Zone. These changes do a world of wonder for the game, allowing it to flow extremely cohesively and telling a more overarching story, not just for Sonic and Tails, but also Knuckles and Fang at the same time, and answers important questions like, what's so Robotnik about this winter? How did Sonic get here from a jungle? And why does Sonic Triple Trouble's original ending suck so much butt? But hey, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. All of these levels also have cool new gimmicks added to them, ranging from plants that spit you out, to baskets with snakes that lift you up, to carousels, to reversing gravity sections, to Sonic getting a snowboard a la Sonic 3. Like with the level design itself, it really adds a lot and makes sure nothing gets truly stale, and as I was progressing, I found more and more like I was getting excited to see what came next. Like, I know this is less of a critical review at this point, and me gushing over something I like, what else is new, but it really gave me back some of that childhood wonder that led to me becoming a fan of the series in the first place. I wasn't able to put the controller down, excited for what came next. It was this exhilarating experience, with each new level managing to break my expectations. I found myself going, wow, that's cool, a whole lot here, and that's, cool. I have to really emphasize how good the level design from the artwork to the gameplay to every small detail in between is. Even stuff that might seem small, like the placement of special stages, which are out of the way, but never being anywhere stupid. This game does a fantastic job at playing to Sonic's strengths and weaknesses, while taking advantage of the fact that you can switch to Tails at any time a la Sonic Mania Plus. Tails can fly and carry Sonic around as in previous games, which really helps you with some areas. And on top of it, he also will get a shield when you pick one up and hold on to it should you get hit, meaning you now have 2 shields to work with if you decide to swap, or if you want to make sure you have a certain shield for a boss or area. God now are the exclusive powers from the Game Gear that don't do a whole lot. Sonic's rocket boots are now relegated to special sections of the game where you fly through the air, and Tails Submarine is integrated into a single act where both go and do it together. Bosses have also all been reworked, as I mentioned before, making them way more interesting and fun to complete than in the original. And on top of it, the game is so easy on the eyes. All of the art here is incredible. From the new sprite work for all the characters to the backgrounds, foregrounds, even enemies all look freaking awesome. This is a very pretty game. I love what it's doing to my eyes. Even in a singular zone, the style may change 2 or 3 times, guaranteeing once more that nothing outstays its welcome. The attention to details is awesome, like Tails being afraid of the rain in the first area, or Sonic grabbing onto the top of this train cart. It's great stuff and really shows how much love went into this. Speaking of being easy on the senses, this game smells great. Speaking of being easy on the senses, this game's music is incredible. I know it's overstated a lot about anything Sonic related. Oh yeah, music's good, but like this is A+ stuff. With every track from the original game being either completely remixed, brought up to sounding right at home on a Genesis, or outright being replaced with music sampling other songs from the series. And thank God for that, because I think even Metal Sonic's ashamed of his theme from the original. As you progress through these zones, find the Chaos Emeralds, and do Sonic's thing he's known for, you'll eventually end yourself up at the Atomic Destroyer Zone after a brief battle with Metal Sonic, who it turns out in this version just disguised himself as Knuckles to mess with you. And Atomic Destroyer is where I'm going to talk about some of the minor issues Triple Trouble 16 has. Trying to keep in mind that this is a passion project offered entirely for free, so I'm also not going to be too hard on it, and how can I be? They're doing my boy justice. Yes, I'm biased, no, it's not a problem. There's a couple bugs here and there. Wow, a Sonic game with bugs, who'd have thunk. And I think they're mostly noticeable here and in one other place, which I'm going to touch on towards the end. And it's really a shame. The game can sometimes get slightly confused about dealing with things in walls, and most of the time this isn't really a big deal, it just means some rings will freak out here and there. But here you can end up in a situation where you get pushed into walls by spinning gears as you take damage, which leads to you getting stuck. The game has some similar issues loading up characters too in free play, with characters getting pre-stuck in walls. In Atomic Destroyer at least, the only option you have when this happens is to either entirely restart the level or wait until a time up, which really sucks. That said, it is worth noting that the developer is putting a lot of time and effort into fixing these issues. And honestly, by the time this video comes out, I imagine quite a few of them will already be fixed. I just ran into them, and this is my experience as of now. So yeah. And on top of it, I should mention the biggest bug I experienced was at the climax of the game. See, Triple Trouble really beefed up the getting all the Chaos Emeralds experience from the base game because, you know, it was shit before. If you just beat the game normally, you get a super simple ending. You beat Eggman and Sonic and Tails fly off in the tornado after saving real Knuckles and seeing Fang fly off. However, that said, if you get all the Chaos Emeralds, everything changes. Now after saving Knuckles, you fight Metal Sonic again, and he takes the Chaos Emeralds, using them to transform himself after defeating you. Knuckles and Fang show up at the last second to save the day, and it's a super hype-ass moment, but for some reason, my first time trying to get into the final zone, Metal just lets Knuckles shove him, presumably for all eternity, causing a soft lock and forcing me to reset and go through all of Atomic Destroyer Act 3 again. It really took me out of this cool moment, and while absolutely hilarious, is kinda worth bringing up. Even if I do kinda love this. Anyway, with that said, when things are working out, Metal finishes his software update in time to actually react to his current situation and blasts away Fang and Knuckles, but they give Sonic enough time to go super and you begin the final showdown. With Metal Sonic slowly gaining more power and becoming harder to hit as the boss battle goes on. He's actually pretty difficult and a perfect reward for your efforts, this epic final showdown on level with the other Genesis games, unless you include Sonic 1, though I guess we also have that too in this game. At the end of the battle, you defeat Metal with this huge test of strength with a big energy ball and boom! You save the day and fly off, giving a true conclusion to an epic adventure as the credits roll and Sonic flies towards the screen. All these aspects blend together into this huge love letter, both to the game and the series as a whole, and the creative talent just oozes out of every corner here. And all of this up until now has just been the main story mode. After you complete the game normally, you unlock Knuckles as a playable character, which also gives you access to a Knuckles-exclusive reimagining of Angel Island Zone. It's revealed you use the Master Emerald to send the Chaos Emeralds away, and he starts making chase, with levels featuring changes like with Sonic 3 to accommodate Knuckles' climbing and glide abilities. It's a super cool reward for completing the main campaign. And you can also unlock Fang for completing the true ending. Dude, look at him, his role is so silly, I love him so much, it's amazing. And if that's not enough for you, there's a series of competition modes available for you to get into as well. These include a battle mode where you try to defeat an opponent, a balloon mode where you try to get spawning balloons before your opponent can, and a race mode which feature you racing in simplified versions of one of a few levels. And on top of that, there's a special campaign for each character where you go through a series of competitions ending up with a face-off against Eggman. These are a lot of fun, and for some reason my jump had huge issues here at times. I'll be real, I have no idea what happened. I had to go to the jump and get stuck like this, which sucks because otherwise this mode's an absolute blast. And on top of it, it's so wild to me how each time I see someone play this game, or I see a screen cap, or I see someone else talking about it, there's something new for me to go back and check out. I have had to add stuff to the script like 4 times now, because while we're in a world where everything is put out as quickly as possible to reveal every little detail about every little thing, we have this cool experience finding new things, discovering new things with a community, just like we did when we were kids. Like I said before, this game recreates that almost childhood wonder experience, which is super cool to me. It's also why I didn't mention a few secrets here, nudge nudge. Look, overall, this is just an incredible experience. I had a lot of fun playing this and really struggled to put it down even to write this review. Curse you, Noah Copeland. I can't even imagine playing the original now with all the fun I had playing this reimagining. I'm seeing this game pick up a lot of traction, and every bit of it is deserved. If you're a Sonic fan, you owe it to yourself to play this game. And if you're not, after this, I feel like you will be. Thank you.